Hello, my name is Bruno Pereira, and I'll be doing the installation guide for the BIM Virtual Assistant 2.0. My partner Guillermo will be going over the Forge API calls and setting up Postman and things like that. I will be going over setting up the database for the web application. One thing is that all the dependencies necessary for communication with the database and things like that are in this dependencies part of our solution. So just running the solution will get you all of these dependencies, so you don't have to worry about that. After getting the dependencies, you need to configure a couple things in the application. So we go to the startup.cs file and we look at this configure services method. The first thing we have is the add DB context pool. This just tells us what type of server we're using. So we're using SQL server, which comes with Visual Studio, and I have it set up here, and we'll look at that later. And it uses a connection string, use your DB connection, which we have in the app settings.json. You can see the local DB and all that stuff. So if you wanted to make it a remote server, you would have to change the string. The next thing that you have to configure is add identity. Or well, you don't have to configure it, but if you wanted to continue adding onto things, you would need to change this application user. So here I have this application user. It extends the identity user, and all it does is it takes everything from identity user, so the password, the email, stuff like that, and then it also adds on this BIM role variable, so that way you could choose what your role is in your BIM organization. After that, we have add scoped, which tells us what functions we want to have in order to interface with our database. So iUser specifies all of the functions. So get user, add user, update user, delete user. And then we have this add query one, which will add into the query tables that I'll show you later. And then SQL user repository actually has all of the implementations of these things. So that's it for all of these. And then we have app.db context. This actually creates the connection between the database and the application. It uses the database connection string that we had earlier, and then it has all of these member variables, dbset, dbset, dbset. And what these are they're actually the tables. Whatever class you pass them gives you specifies how the tables are made. So if we go to query model, for example, we can see that we have a key, which is the query. So we don't want to add queries more than once. And then we have the count. And then based off of that, app.db context can make a table. And we can look at the data inside of the table. And we can see that it does create the query and tells us the count. So currently it's just the query of something and the count of 1. So after we specify that all of these are supposed to be tables inside of our database, we need to use the package manager console to do some commands. So if you don't see the package manager console, you can go to one of these tabs up here and find it, and then it'll lead you down here. And we have two commands. We have to do add migration, which it's add dash migration, and then it takes in a name for the migration. I won't do that because we don't have to. We have all the migrations in these folders, so there's no reason to add a new migration because there's no new information here or in any of the classes for now. So you have to do add migration, and then but that doesn't actually change the database. It just has like a bunch of commands. So this one is add column BIM role to ASP.NET users and drop column. So after we do that, then all we have to do is hit update dash database and hit enter, and it'll update the database, update all the tables. But you can see no migrations were applied because the database is already up to date. So that's it. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. I'm Guillermo Barquero, and I'm one of the developers working on the Intelligent BIM Virtual Assistant. I'm going to be bringing you this video today as an installation guide and a process to get the project up and running for your next version of the BIM Assistant. So first and foremost, this is going to be broken up into a couple of videos. You're going to have to follow a couple steps. First, this video is going to be setting up your Forge account and getting your client ID and client secret so you can attach it to the environment variables of the project. Might sound a little lengthy if you haven't had experience on this before, but I'll walk you step by step so you guys understand what's going on. So you're going to come to autodeskforge.com. First thing you're going to do, and you're going to come to the sign in button. I don't expect anybody to have an account already unless you've worked with this before, so go ahead and create an account. I won't walk you through that process, it's pretty straightforward, but once you have created an account, you can log in. Upon logging in, you'll see this page right here where it says My Apps. So you'll create a new app. I already have mine created, but I'll walk you through the process. So when you come and create your new app, you get to select the APIs you want to use in your project. So the APIs that we used and the ones that are expected are the Data Management API, Model Derivative API, and actually that's all you're going to be needing. Now, I know the product owners wanted to incorporate at some point the BIM 360 API. That depends if your product owner wants to do it for this iteration. For us, it was not part of our scope of our project, so we did not include it. But for now, we'll just say these two. So you give it an app name. I'm going to call it just 2.0, but I'll delete it later. Then a brief description, which you guys can provide. I'll just put jargon. Then your callback URL. This URL is going to be very important when you guys do three-legged authentication. So this is going to be the URL the program goes back to once you ask for an authentication token. So when I log in, for example, I'll be prompted my user login, then it'll say register with Autodesk account. It'll take you to some website where you have to log in just how I did when I signed in through Autodesk. It'll have your email and your password. And once you're done with that, the URL, this one, this is where it's going to go to. So it needs to go back to your website, the domain that you call it. And it'll have a code up here. The code is the callback URL code, which you are going to consume and then send back as an authentication token to Autodesk Forge. You'll see more on that later when you guys develop it for the three-legged authentication. And then your website URL, which isn't necessary right now. We did deploy the website, and we plan on giving the deployed version to the product owner so they have their own server. But for that, you can leave that empty. So, well, let me provide one. Okay, so I should have skipped through the video. We had some technical issues. Now that your app is created, you have all the information you need in order to get the environment variables. So these two things right here are extremely important. This is the client ID, which you'll be using to authenticate your account on Autodesk Forge, and your client secret, which is unique to everyone. So you can also regenerate it here. I never had to, but in case you do, it's there. So that settles it for the Forge account. I'll continue the video with the Postman portion of it, which I'll show you how to create your buckets and upload objects and things like that, which you'll have to do before you get into the Visual Studio Code. And I'll walk you through it, as it can be a little confusing, but I'll make sure it's a little easier to digest. Thank you very much. Okay, so welcome back. We're going to be continuing with the Postman portion of this video to show you how to create, upload, delete files and buckets on your Autodesk Forge API, on your Autodesk Forge account, sorry. So first thing you need to do is you need to download Postman. Whether you're using Windows, Mac OS, or Linux, you can get Postman for free. It's just going to be a fancy tool that's going to help us make a lot of HTTP requests, put requests, get requests, and make a lot of API calls so we can interact with Autodesk Forge. So once you download that, you're going to open up Postman. You're not going to have any of this on the side. This is things that you're going to add from the files I'm about to give you. So the first thing you need to do is you need to come up here. This environment is going to be set to no environment for you, but you will be setting it to this one. So what's going to happen is you're going to go to Manage Environments, and this is going to be empty. What you're going to do is import. And there's going to be files in the deliverable under the Documents. Right here I have them downloaded, but in the deliverable you'll find them under Documents. And you're going to have these two right here. These two are going to help you set the environment variables and set up all the calls. So let's see. First thing you need to do, import. You're going to choose a file, and what you're going to import is the Postman environment. Public product oss.postman_environment. This right here is going to give you all the environment variables that you need to modify in order to make all of the rest of the calls. Once you do, you'll see it here under Manage Environments. You can click on it and you'll see all of your environment variables laid out for you, easy, ready to use. They will be filled out. Make sure to delete them and replace with the appropriate information, which I'll walk you through right now. So the consumer key, this is going to be the key that you guys made in your Autodesk Forge account. So you're going to copy that, you're going to copy this, and you're going to paste it in the appropriate respective variable. So consumer key, consumer secret, client ID, client secret, same thing. The names are arbitrary. It's just in this case, the names were called consumer and not client. The access token you can delete, leave it empty because it will be filled out once you do your API call. The URN, leave it empty. You don't need it. It'll automatically be generated once you do one of these calls. The bucket key you do need to fill out and make sure that it is a unique name. I misspelled mine here, but it doesn't matter. It's arbitrary. Just make sure it's unique. Modeled UID you can leave empty. That'll get filled out later. The object name, make sure this is a file, a 3D file that you guys choose, the one that you want to upload. So for example, my file is down here somewhere, the Revit Model 1. Make sure you name it the same thing, the root file and the object name, and then you can hit update. You'll see the little thing flash, that means it's updated, and then make sure you select the environment to public prod OSS. Once that's done, you come over here. This is going to be empty. You're not going to have anything. So you need to go to import, and this is where you're going to use the other file I gave you, the Forge two-legged OSS Postman collection. You're going to click on that, you're going to hit accept, and then it's going to load in all of these calls for you. First thing you need to do is authenticate. So you come to authenticate, go to authorization, make the type 2.0, request headers. As soon as that's done, you can hit send, and you should be getting an access token. The access token should be active for this amount of time. Every time you hit send again, you'll get a new access token and it'll refresh the timer. The next one is create a bucket. The bucket is where all of your 3D files are going to be stored. So for Autodesk, just think of it as a storage container for all of the 3D files that you have. You can have several buckets, all pertaining to different objects that you upload. But for now, all you need is one, so that's what we're going to do. When you hit send, mine already exists, but you should get what you saw previously in the video. For the upload file, what you need to do is it's not going to be straightforward, so when you click it, you'll see params. You need to go to body, you need to go to binary, and then you'll see select file. Select file, you have to select that exact, the exact file that you wanted to upload, the one you put in your environment variables. So you go to Rivet, for me, and then you can go to send. That will send the file, and it should translate it. And there we go. It's uploaded onto the bucket. Then get files. Get files will use the bucket key to get all of the objects you've uploaded. I've only uploaded the Rivet model, so you'll only find that one. If you want to upload another one using Postman, you'd have to come in here, change this to the file you want to upload, and then do it again. If not, you'll get an error. For our application, when you run it for the first time, you'll be able to upload your models from there. But this is just to get something on there, so when you load up the application, you'll have a visible model. You can then call get details. This will give you all of the details of the model. Currently, there's no important details on the model. You can get all of the formats. So this will show you all of the formats accepted. DWG, IFC, FBX, some of these we didn't even touch or use, but it's just an API call, it's just helpful to have. Post-job SVS, you don't need to worry about this. None of this is really used. Get manifest is important. The manifest will contain all of the files and all of the information that you need for your for getting metadata. The metadata includes all of the properties, the hierarchy, everything you're going to need in the project. For me, it's giving me an error. Let me see. It seems that mine is failing. but you don't need to worry about that. The get manifest, get metadata, all this stuff, this is just for convenience. You don't need to do this. The most important things for you to do is authenticate, create a bucket, upload a file. The rest of these things we did because we were learning how to use the API, and it's not going to be necessary for you. The application we built already does this for you in the controller class, in controller classes on the back end of the ASP.NET Core. So just remember, these are the only 3 things you really need to do. If you have any problems, you can contact us. We've left all of the files that you need in order to do this. We're going to proceed in the next video on actually running the application, changing the environment variables on Visual Studio, and that'll get you guys up and running so you can run the application. All right, thank you for your time. See you soon. Good afternoon again. Welcome to the portion of the video where we'll be discussing how to start the actual Visual Studio 2019, 2017, whichever you're using. We're going to start the project. We're going to open it up and we're actually going to run it. So in the deliverable file, you should find all of our branches. You're really only going to use the master branch. We included our branches because there were some changes that we made on each branch that we had not incorporated into the master branch yet. We just didn't get to finish them. Master branch is the one that has the most current working code though. But you're free to look at our branches and see the implementations that we added that we just didn't get to add. So what you're going to do, you'll download the master. It'll be in the deliverable. As soon as you do that, you'll open it. Actually, I'll follow through so you guys can see. So you'll download it. When you unzip it, there will be a solution file in here. This .sln. The solution file, if you double click it, it should automatically open on Visual Studio if you don't already have Visual Studio. And I'll make a quick note, make sure that you do have Visual Studio. I would recommend Visual Studio 2019. I'll just take you to the website so you guys can see. Make sure you download Visual Studio 2019. Once the master branch is done installing, you guys can unzip it, click this, it should open up in Visual Studio. And I also recommend, highly recommend, you guys run Visual Studio as an administrator. This will make sure that when you guys debug using ISS Express or anything like that, if you're not an admin, it might not let you deploy, or it might not let you debug the application on the browser. So it should be called bim.sln. Open it, and you should be ported straight into our project. Just give it a second to load. Okay, and once you're here, the only thing you really have to do is you need to go to Properties. Make sure you click on the project, click Properties, and right here, these are the things you need to change. So the callback URL needs to match the exact callback URL that you have here, the one you guys created. Same with the client ID and the client secret. Come here, forge client secret, forge client ID, save those. Don't worry about the ASP.NET Core environment. Just save those. Once you do, you'll see that it's changed here. Control S or save, however you want. Close it, and then the application should work for your Autodesk Forge account. That way, when you launch the program, which will launch right now, it should build, debug, and then the browser opens up. When you log into your account, I already have mine. These accounts that we create on the website are tied to one specific Autodesk Forge account. Ignore this page, you won't have this, okay? This is my version, this is my branch. You can skip through this. You won't see it. You'll go straight to this page. On this page, you'll see that I created that bucket in Postman. You'll find that bucket right there the second you guys load in, because it should be tied to your account. My model's there. It hasn't been translated, but our program does translate it. So you hit start translation. It'll let you know, and it'll tell you the percentage at where it's at. Rivet files sometimes take quite a while, so be patient and you'll see the file up and running in no time. So that's how you run the program. That's how you log in. Make sure you register. before you actually try to log in, obviously. It won't let you go to the viewer. And you guys can do the same thing that we show in the other videos, the user guide. You guys can upload your files here, delete your files, and you can see in the code where we do that. The OSSO controller, this is the class that handles all of the things for the viewer. So it gets you all of the buckets. It gets you, allows you to delete objects. These are the tree nodes. Each one of these methods does something, gets metadata, gets the hierarchy, gets the properties. And we've commented most of this for you. You guys can run through it and you can see that these properties right here are doing almost exactly the same thing as these in Postman, just for a web application. And that concludes how to run our project. If you have any questions, any problems, I'll leave my contact information in a notepad file, and I'll also leave timestamps for this. So thank you very much.